Okay, hi, welcome to week one, or the completion of week one of the Artist Way course thingy, whatever. Oh my god. So much has happened. Um, More so drama, I guess. This week was very spiritual, I guess, is like the craziest way I could explain it. My dog is like at the corner. You can see her ears. Um, Sorry, that was funny. But right off the bat, let me just tell you, I did do the artist date. Super fun, super cool. I also did do the morning pages. I just didn't do one of them properly because of said drama that occurred, which we will get to in a moment. So I just want to like elaborate and like further state that this is not like going to be like a formal week one we discussed this and that. I'm mostly gonna speak on behalf of like my experiences, the things I found most impactful in regards to this week, and yeah, it is currently 11:35 p.m. May 24th, 2025. I'm only filming this late because I was out all day with my cousin, and it happens, whatever, I had a fun time. Super cool. But I will say, I really don't like the artist pages. I don't like them that much. Only because, like, I like the process of, like, actively trying to, write my own thoughts. And, like, I like the things that kind of come out. Because it's, like, shit that I wouldn't really fully recognize, like, on my own, I guess. I don't think that I worded that properly. Like, a lot of these things don't really occur to me when I'm just sitting around doing nothing, unless like I'm actively trying to poke and pry at my goddamn brain. So it was honestly really interesting to like see the things that I would say, shit that I don't really fully say to myself enough. Uh so we anyways. Oh my god. Yeah, let's start on the Hall of Monsters, which is essentially like a group of people that have negatively impacted your creativity, self worth, the way you express yourself, pretty much. And I dug into a lot of like crazy shit from my past that I kind of forgot. And I've also come to terms that, my dad just so happened to be one of them. And I love my dad. I really do. Like I care for him a lot, he's always there for me. And it was a little bit, there was a lot of reluctance in trying to fully accept that he, you know, did some things that weren't all right in my childhood. Um, it was really tough, I mean, like, I always want to be at like the best at everything I do. I I'm a perfectionist. I want to be number one. I want to be the best at what I do. I want to be original. I want to be unique. I want to be one of a kind, right? And that's a lot, to expect from one person. I have been raised in a manner that forced me to believe that it wasn't okay working with people because people can potentially ruin or hurt me in a way that I would be, unable to do the best at what I believe I can do. So I kind of, and the way that my dad would help me with like certain things, it made me a little bit afraid because of extremely high expectations that he had on me. So there was also that belief that anything and everything that I do was never good enough, right? But you know, I can't really deny that those things that he did impact me very heavily now because I suffer so much from, creative self-worth, confidence in like the things that I do and create. And there's like this I'm going to be so real. I have this like ungodly urge to be better than everyone else. And I hate to like admit it, right? But like I don't want to deny it. And it's a flaw that I've come to like realize that I don't really like about myself, the fact that I don't feel safe or comfortable sharing my vision, my ideas, my creative thoughts with other people because of, fear that they'll try stealing my ideas and, having someone be more successful than I am from it. And that's like mostly like, that's like one of my biggest fears, and I truly believe that, oh yeah, you could be original, you can be unique. Anything that comes to your mind that you think has never been done before has never been done before. So you need to keep your ideas a secret. And I've bumped into like I bumped into a video that like completely shattered that mindset, right? That there is such thing as originality. There's been multiple stories discussing the same topic with the same plots and themes that have been told differently, yet a lot of these could be like completely unique ways of, expressing that theme, plot, topic, whatever, It's all based on you, the creative, the person who's responsible for creating that piece of work because of, your authentic voice, your not originality, but just your interpretation of whatever it is that your story's about, to its core. And holy cow, goddamn, it was pretty crazy. As I've said, I don't remember if I've said this, but this week was just very spiritual. There was a lot of just memories brought from the past that like, held a lot of heavy emotion still that I thought that I've like, that I've originally completely forgotten about. And there was also, just a lot of angel numbers. I'm a tarot reader. The messages were insane, like this week. It was like, oh my god, and there's a lot of like importance on like working with other people, collaboration, and it's like, my chair made that noise. My bad. But it was just really crazy, because I'm like so introverted. I am afraid of talking to people. It's bad. But I still want friends. A lot of the times when I do get friends, they don't really end well. And I don't know if it's me. I honestly don't think it's me, but that's like a topic for another time, right? A lot of people have done me dirty. But speaking of people who have done me dirty, one of the main things that I kind of just realized is a lot of my exes from my past, obviously, are in the Hall of Monsters, and I've come to realize that a lot of my love life itself, just like my history and wrote like, with that stuff, kind of really fucked me over a little bit. I had no autonomy whatsoever, and I know this is gonna sound crazy. Ever since 6th grade, I had been in constant relationships back and forth, like on and on and on. Like, there was hardly like a big gap. Like, I would never go past 1 month without being in a relationship, and it was very unhealthy. And I feel like that played a big role in that as well. And it was just like how I view myself and my own self-worth. I don't want to consider myself in the Hall of Monsters because, I don't think that's a thing you can do. But, I've made so many mistakes time and time again. And I was stuck in that cycle for over, like, I'd say just like about over 10 years. It's like insane, right now, for context, I am a second year, about to be a third year student in college, And I've only been like single for 1 year. Like this is like I'm 1 year single, haven't been in a relationship. And I'm finally like, I'm coming to like realize who I am, what I want to do. Or well, I've always really known what I wanted to do, but it's been so repressed cuz I've been wanting to please people my whole life for no reason, just like I guess validation because that was kind of like what I desired. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be loved. And if no one loved me, what purpose or worth did I have? If they couldn't find worth in staying with me, then what was there? That's how I used to think. And I think like a lot of these exercises and tasks that I did this week kind of made me realize that a lot of my Hall of Monsters, I think one of them was mainly focused on one of my exes from middle school. I know, crazy, right? I was a band kid, and oh my god, I there was like a repressed memory that I had. I used to play saxophone, alto saxophone, and I was obsessed with jazz. I love jazz. I still do, like I'll listen to it any day, whenever. It was great. But this guy, he had connections with like people who were older that played saxophone, upperclassmen already in high school. And I had known one of them when I was in sixth grade, seventh grade. This all happened in eighth grade, yeah. But I was the only girl in the saxophone section, and a lot of these guys were sexist, They wouldn't help me. I put in so much effort. I did the best I could, and the only help I got was like from the band director. And I did all I could. And in eighth grade, sorry, I was like constantly tied with this guy, right? And there was this regional competition for jazz, and I was constantly telling myself, I need to get first place. I need to get first place. And well, whenever I performed, we're all in this big room, and I was first. I was one of the first ones to play. And I made no mistakes. I played everything note for note. No fumbles, no wrong notes, no nothing, right? I did everything as was done on the paper, on the sheet. I already forgot. But, and I was so confident in myself. Like, I fully believed I had the potential to get first. Then he plays, and he fumbles like a couple of notes. Now that in itself, like compared to like me who made like no fucking mistakes, this guy made a mistake that was enough to take down points from his score. And that whole time, my other classmates that participated, and even him, they were under the impression that, he was going to get, that I was going to get first chair. And, I don't know, like this case in itself was like the repressed memory that I feel kind of guilty for having, but at the same time, it's essentially he got first and I got second. Now, second isn't bad. You did really good. I cried. I cried so hard. And I remember feeling like just devastated and distraught. Why? Was all my hard work that I had to do on my own not good enough? Am I not good enough? Is just everything that I do never going to be good enough? I was always second place, and I wanted to be first so bad. And I don't even know why. Like, to make my dad proud, to make my family proud. They were proud that I was second chair, but I wasn't proud. I wanted to be first. And specifically that guy, he was just kind of really... It wasn't even just like that. Because like that in itself, that memory didn't really make me feel like he was an asshole. You know, that was more so me having a little crisis, you know? And I still don't understand why to this day. And I honestly think he had connections with the judges. Because, like, he had connections with the drum major when I was, like, when we were in 7th grade. I used to perform better than him, you know? And this is probably going to sound so narcissistic. And it's, like, not intended to be that way. But it's, like, it was never, like, I felt it was never fair. Because how can, like, someone who's putting so much effort not get the help from someone who is, like, even, like, more advanced and I would imagine as equally passionate as I was, you know? And it just felt like it was because I was a girl, you know? And it was just like, wow. It was so bad. And it wasn't even just the drum major. I quit in high school because in 8th grade, we were called to play at the seniors' graduation for our local high school, and I went, but we were being taught by the saxophonist teacher. I don't know what he was, but he worked at the high school, and he already knew this guy. Like, he already knew the guy that I was referring to. And he was so kind and buddy-buddy with him. And, like, even from, like, past classmates, like, when we were in 7th grade, they had still kept in contact with him. They were friends with him. They completely disregarded me and this other guy that was, like, a chair beneath me. And I didn't feel, like, appreciated. I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt outcasted. The way that even the teacher would treat me just felt so dismissive, you know? Like, he was very... What's the word? Like, it was just the way he would look at me. The way that he talked to me, and then would completely switch up whenever he would talk to this other guy. And it was damaging. It tore me down to the point where I had to give up playing the instrument that I love because I didn't want to be surrounded by that anymore. I was so fed up. I was sick of crying every night because I could never reach those expectations that I had set for myself. And it was partially my fault, but, you know, the other guy was just very... He was my ex, and he, like, you know, he would give me these promises that, oh, I'll get these guys to help you out, you know, I'll help you. And, like, that in itself wasn't really enough, because whenever I would, like, try to, you know, interact with, like, these other guys who are helping him, they just, like, they don't even bat an eye, and he did nothing to really help me on that. And he was also a fucking cheater. You know, this is a lot of middle school drama, and it's like, looking back on it, it's like, you know, that's kind of corny. And it was kind of corny. It was kind of cringe, right? But what can I do? You know, and the fact that it still stuck with me and I still, like, felt hurt by it was enough to, like, kind of make me realize that stuff like that really does stick, you know? Things that you thought you let go of are still there. And it was just heavy shit, you know? But, anyways, yeah, so band really fucked me up, and I'm glad I left. But at the same time, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't really continue playing saxophone. It's like I just can't, like, sometimes I get emotional just listening to like orchestra music, or just like, I don't want to say jazz, but it depends on the kind of jazz, right? Like if it's like swing, I do get a little bit like, damn, but I miss the feeling of, playing with a group of other people. I never really liked doing solos or like playing alone, if that makes sense, like for like performance wise. I would get a lot of stage fright. I would freak out, and that was like another thing that happened, which I didn't really discuss in my writing actually, but yeah, like I just couldn't. I could perform everything perfectly on my own in front of my band director, in front of other like of my peers, but the moment that I was being judged and it was like a competition, that's when I would freak out. And I don't that's why I'm so confused like with myself as to like why I care so much about like being the best when I hate competition, yet I love working and playing with other people. Yet the thought of working and collaborating with other people on my own projects like brings me so much fear and anxiety that, I'll get backstabbed or like, you know, have my vision corrupted or something like that. It's weird. And I don't really know. It's a lot, but yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of yapping. This week really made me realize a lot about myself and the things that kind of held me back a little. It also made me realize I don't want to say my purpose, but, it's not that I strive for originality and being unique, but just telling my story and being able to, like, hopefully help people grow so that they can connect with my own experiences, because, I'm not a completely, I don't want to say I have a fucked up past, but, I've been through things. I've been through a lot of hurtful things that, looking back, I would never wish those things on anyone else, because it takes a lot to really, come to terms that, oh, well, that happened and now you have to learn, grow, and evolve from it. And it took a lot of time because there was so much resistance in wanting to accept that fact. I mean, hell, I didn't even want to accept the fact that my dad was once, or raised me in a way that really did fuck me over. Sometimes I don't want to really accept what's in front of me, but like, I think now I feel like I don't really have a choice but to accept it. I know I'm not a perfect person. I know other people aren't perfect either. This is our first time living, There's no one in this whole wide world who could possibly live their life perfectly, like with a 100% score. That's not possible, right? Sure, maybe you could, like, if you believe in past lives, you could remember certain lessons that you've learned, whatever it is that you believe in, but no one's perfect. You can't expect that. You can't expect the impossible from people whenever, life isn't really meant to be lived in that way. It's only natural that we make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes can be good, some of them can be bad. Yeah. I don't really know how else to, like, where else to go from here. I finished 6 of the tasks, not including the artist date and the morning pages. But I did fuck up one of those morning pages, but I still did it. I still did the page, but yeah, had a movie marathon for the movie that. the artist date. um, yeah, honestly, I think that's all I really have to say. You know, oh, of course, there was like some family drama on Wednesday that kind of disrupted that morning page is thing. But it just had to do with my stepmom being crazy. So that's not really, I don't think. It did help me realize that, my dad also isn't really as perfect as I would like to imagine that he is, And I feel like that situation really enforced that thought into my head to, just kind of come to terms that, he's not as great as my mind would lead him on to be. I still love him. I still care about him. He's just not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect person. Literally. But, yeah, I think we'll just leave it off at that. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say because it's all just kind of, my brain's a little bit all over the place. I've been yapping for like 26 minutes. That's insane. But my dog's laying down. So yeah, I think I'll just end it here. Sorry, my nose is itchy. But yeah, I think I'll just stop it here. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.